This is definitely gonna be a little weird, but I feel like you might be cool with it, right?
Gotta be.
I hate knocking on doors. Let's see if he's home.
Hello.
Hey Ed. We kind of recognized your house, and we kind of know that you're a collector of cars, and wanted to see if maybe you'd be willing to let us check out your car collection.
I suppose we could do that.
Let's go.
This is Ed Bolian. He's an automotive YouTuber who has an affinity for cars, and unique ones at that. From working at a Lamborghini dealership to starting his VinWiki YouTube channel and app back in 2016, he has amassed over 2 million subscribers, and he has an impressive collection of cars ranging from an old school Mercedes all the way up to a Bugatti. Let's head inside his garage and check out what's inside.
We are here with Ed Bolian to take a look at his collection. This is gonna be a really fun video. We know you, or most people on the internet know you, for collecting cars, and very kind of unique cars at that. And so I'm excited today to go ahead and take a look at your collection. Welcome to the channel.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Thank you for stopping by. Let's go have a look around.
Let's go. On top of looking at his regular collection, we also want to take a look at other things that he may collect. So that will be fun to see, but let's head in the garage and check out what you guys might see.
Absolutely. To be honest, I never thought about it as a car collection. It was more of a bunch of cars that don't always go where you ask them to, so I needed backups to make content and things like that for the VinWiki YouTube channel, all the events and road trips and things that we do. But it has developed into quite a collection. As you know, anything that you do from a social media content creation perspective or any kind of professional perspective, you just accumulate whatever the hobby is. And it's fun to be able to go pro in your hobby, as I know you've enjoyed as well. But the problem then becomes like, eventually you just have way too much. And so I usually try to keep like 8 to 10 cars, and then it climbs to 15, and then I sell a bunch off, and then it climbs back up. And so I think right now it's 11, but a lot of them stay in different stages of disrepair and some in museums. And so this is what's around here with the latest addition, the Bugatti.
That's incredible. So yeah, so you have 11 cars total now, and we have 5 here in the garage. Now, you recently did a car collection video, so I think I'll be able to pull some references off of those, but let's maybe name off the few that aren't here right now outside of these main ones.
For sure. The ones that are very rarely here are the 2 Cannonball cars. So in 2013, I set the record for driving the fastest from New York to Los Angeles in a Mercedes CL55 AMG. And then a couple of years later, I found some guys that did it as a cheap car race. And so the premise was for $2,904 or $1 a mile, you had to race from New York to California. And so I found a $1,200 12-owner, 2 salvage accident S55 AMG, and then rebuilt it kind of within the rules of what you could spend on safety items, including terrible suspension and everything like that. And so that and the CL sit at the Miles Through Time Museum in Clarksville, Georgia. And they've been there for a few years. I usually get them out a couple times a year for different events or drives or whatever, but it's nice for them to be up there. Stored, not here, and yeah, there's only so many valuable miles you can get out of an aging AMG car.
True.
And then at the moment, they're doing a supercar display at the Savoy Auto Museum in, where is it, Clarksville, Georgia? And so it is it's up there, my LP640 Roadster manual car. It is Nero Nemesis, one of 10 US cars, which I really, really love. And they asked for it, and I was like, I don't really like to not have my cars to drive, because I like to put as many miles on them as I possibly can. And so they were like, well, it'll just be like 2 months in the winter. And I said, all right, you can have it. So it's up there next to an F50 and a 288 GTO and an XJ220 and a lot of really, really legendary cars. Company it very much deserves to be in, because the LP640 manual cars are my favorite.
Yeah, if you know anything about Ed, you know that the Murcielagos are some of your favorite car of all time?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of fun things, and we can look around in here and tell you about them. This is what I call the free Lamborghini, because long before anybody cared about these manual cars, I loved them and I started buying them. And I say buying, I mean financing them. I was able to leverage them through, like, you know, hopefully building good credit early on in life, and then buying ahead of my age cohort to try to, you know, be ahead of the curve from a value perspective. But if everything else had to go and this was the one car that I drove forever, I would be just as happy as I look right now.
That's incredible. So yeah, we'll get to this one last, because this is the most recent, and I feel like a lot of people might have seen this recently. But let's go to, actually, let's start over there. We've already started, but let's go over here to something that I think is very unique, and
One of the garage lizards is joining us there between the two.
that's the sixth car that's in the garage.
That's right.
So we have a Porsche Cayenne over here.
Yes.
This car, this is very unique, and I feel like it's something that's kind of niche, but also not, that everybody loves.
For sure.
This is an off-road Porsche Cayenne. Is this custom built by you or your team, or how's that work?
Me and some sponsors to help support it. So a couple of years ago, we took on a sponsorship to kind of build the ultimate on and off-road vehicle, and we chose the Porsche Cayenne Turbo as the starting point. And the sponsor was Sway, which is a engineering and prototyping and clothing company out of Northwest Montana near Glacier National Park. And so we actually took several of them on different expeditions and journeys. And so this one and one other one went all the way up there to the top of Alaska. And so we road tripped about 12,000 miles round trip all the way to the Arctic Ocean in Alaska. And it was an amazing trip under the northern lights, blasting along in these, bouncing off of potholes. But that was kind of the idea. I had built a Cayenne for Car Trek, one of the shows that I've done with Freddie Tavares Hernandez and Tyler Hoover of Hoovie's Garage. And so I got a really cheap $2,000 08 Cayenne S that we turned into something that looked kind of like this, but wasn't nearly as capable. And then we decided to kind of grow it there. So there's now 5 orange kind of VinWiki Cayennes, and this is the only one that I've still got. But it was a great way to shout out all the sponsors, do something fun with them, and have a great adventure.
So how would you say you drive this now? Do you take it when you're going on a quick trip out, or you not drive it at all?
Actually, as you can see, not many of the cars have back seats, and I do have 2 young children, and so we put a lot of miles on this, just running the family around and then exploring all the Metro Atlanta developments and getting it nice and muddy, sliding around subdivisions under construction.
That makes a lot of sense. So that's a really cool one there. And then obviously we have, this is just a good shot here. And if you guys aren't familiar in the car space and car YouTube, Obsessed Garage is one of the kind of, he's obsessed with garages, and you can't tell, he built this entire garage. Or he didn't build the garage, he helped you paint it, set everything up, and talk about that a little bit, this whole setup.
Yeah, I mean, for car enthusiasts, the real dream beyond owning the cars is having the right garage, the right house to keep them in. And so when I was looking for a house, and honestly, even in Metro Atlanta, trying to find a house that's under $1 million between Midtown and Lake Lanier that has a 5-car garage is almost impossible. And so I had searched for the better part of a decade to try to find the perfect house. And in 2018, this one popped up for sale, and it was just perfection, partially because we'd outgrown our first house, and I needed a place to consolidate everything that VinWiki is, not just the car storage, but a place to do the interviews and things like that. So we've got a studio right up these stairs that you'll get to come share some stories at very soon. And so we walked in here and saw the garage, like, yeah, we'll take it. I'm sure there's a kitchen and some, bathroom somewhere else, but it has been the perfect fit. And so Matt Mormon and his team from Obsessed Garage came in right after I bought it, and all he said was, get the walls painted this color, and he'd get mad at me for not remembering the specific color
Something
it was.
gray, yeah.
Exactly, and he said, and I don't know what to do with this triangular bit here, so just solve it. And so I got a tile guy to come in, he told me the height of the Swiss tracks, and then he put in the sonic cabinets, all the reels, the air compressor, and I love it. It has kind of become the secondary backdrop of VinWiki, just in hanging out here, good lights. First when you put the lights on, I was like, dude, I'm not doing surgery.
Yeah, that's right.
But now that we shoot so much content in here, it's been perfect.
Yeah, and with that, he did set up a really crazy car washing, pressure wash system on say a monthly basis. What would it say, by a quarterly basis? How often do you use this to wash your cars?
More than I expected to. I hate cleaning cars. It is like, I like getting them dirty, and I don't mind them being dirty, but I told him, I said, if we could get something that's just nice and easy, and I'll just honestly just pull them out, blast them off, and then go fast to dry them off, and it works quite well. And this makes it very easy. His premise with his channel is, sometimes you see these content models and you're like, that is just awesome. Yeah. And what he does is he'll go out for a pressure washer and he'll buy every one of them and test them all, and his audience respects his opinion and his testing methods enough that if he says this is the one to buy, regardless of how much it costs, and then they'll just go out and buy all of them. And so he'll get like a reseller account with Cransler for their crazy pressure washer, and all of his followers will just buy them and say, all right, but you don't want to buy their hose, you don't want to buy their tubes, you want to buy this, this, and that, and they'll engineer this perfect solution that's like 10 different companies' products and come out with exactly what you want. And so I have to say, like, I haven't run into an issue with anything that he put in, which is the biggest testimony you could ever have. Is like, he was right about all of it. And he's an amazing and an entertaining storyteller in all the stuff that he does. So it has been a blast.
Yeah, so we have the gated Murcielago here. one of your favorites, maybe this car specifically, but just the car in general. Back here we have two, I'd say more unique cars. One on the right that I think most people, maybe not in my audience, would know is a Spyker.
Yep.
And then you have a Diablo SV. Let's first talk about the Spyker because I know the story behind it, that this was Missy Elliott's car, but you can probably tell it better than I can.
Yeah, so I worked at Lamborghini Atlanta from 2009 to 2015, so before the VinWiki channel and the VinWiki app came about. And we were also technically a Spyker dealer, but Spyker as a company was not in its best place, and so we would service Missy Elliott's car. She bought it new in 2009. Spyker made about 260 cars from 2004 to 2010, and then they went bankrupt, and then they kind of got an investor and bought Saab, and then they went bankrupt again. And there were always talks about them coming back, and of course this wasn't their first time making cars. In the very, very early 1900s, they went from making airplanes to making cars. So there's a lot of aeronautical inspired features. And so of those 260 cars, only 32 of them are the US La Violette, which I think is kind of the ultimate version. So the hard top with the glass roof, functional louvered fenders, functional roof scoop, clamshell design, exposed gear linkage, floor hinged pedals, so many things that you just think of as a Pagani now. And people call him a poor man's Pagani, which is a moniker I will gladly accept. But I love it. She just got tired of it. She didn't really like driving it because it was a manual transmission. And so her mom called and said, Missy wants to get rid of the car. And so she was quite the shrewd negotiator, but we got a good deal on it. And honestly, it didn't run. I couldn't go see the car. It was a totally blind purchase. And so, but when it got here, it just needed a fresh tank of gas, a new battery, some oil, and it has run beautifully. It's much nicer than any of my other cars, and that was a total accident. I was buying some, sight unseen, doesn't start car, but it turned out to be immaculate. So it's only got about 4,000 miles, and I guess put about half of those on it, and I enjoy every single mile in it.
It's a very unique car. It stands out. Well, it's hard to stand out in these other cars here, but it does stand out in the uniqueness of how it's small and the design. Let's move on. So this is my favorite color, is orange.
Mine
and so
too. Seeing
this just makes me, because you had an orange R8 that was wrapped back in the day, correct?
I did, and orange is also my favorite color, but as I'm sure you've experienced in the marketplace, it is everyone's favorite color, and they think very highly of it, and I buy the cheapest examples of the coolest cars that I can find, which means they're never orange. And so if I have an orange car, it's because it's been painted or wrapped. So this was originally a Rosso Imola 1997 Lamborghini Diablo SV, and it was in Japan. And it came up for sale in one of these arcade auctions where you just bid, and then maybe you win it, maybe you don't. They don't have reserves, but they always have the option of not selling it. And so I won it about a year ago, and then they didn't sell it to me. And then they ran it again the next week, and I won it again for less money, and they did. And so,
that works.
The kind of traditional Japanese modification method is crazy graphics, crazy lights, crazy things everywhere, rhinestones everywhere. It's supposed to be like a nod to being a Yakuza gangster, I don't know. So this is the Yakuza Diablo, and it was very badly painted red. We had it shipped in. I actually finished doing a cannonball in an old cars. We did a 1976 Rolls Royce. Took it from the Long Beach Pier to the Portofino where we finished it, and I drove it straight to SEMA. Battery was so dead, we couldn't get the right one in LA, that we had one waiting in Vegas. We were push starting it the whole way. And so we wrapped it green there, and then it was recently painted for a Netflix show.
Oh,
and so it is now Arancio, California, which I think is the best color. And I mean, if you were actually buying a proper metallic orange Diablo, it would be pushing 850, 900 grand. And so that's not my speed. But this is, it's got the rhinestones still on the air vents on the interior.
That.
The
Is
door
this a quick release
still
wheel? Or is this the original wheel that came in the car?
No, that's an aftermarket OMP wheel.
Okay.
It also seems to have the seats, I think, from a Roadster, which is amazing because I actually fit. I had a 97 Diablo Roadster for a short time that I bought after it had been stolen and re-vinned and found and recovered and kind of made okay. But I couldn't fit in the car at all. And so I bought it sort of expecting it would be a short-term experiment and then I would sell it. But honestly, I fit, I love it, I drive it a lot, and it is such an experience. The Mercy is my favorite Lamborghini, but this gives you a little bit more insanity, a little bit more coolness, and feels a little bit older, and you can't get any better.
Yeah, especially in orange. Just the rhinestones is crazy on there though, and I love that you didn't change it. We're gonna have Nick afterwards get some shots of everything so you guys can see what we're talking about. Super unique. So as we move on from this, we have your newest car, and would this say your most expensive purchase you made?
Yeah. Of anything ever by a multiple. I sold 7 cars and got a gigantic loan to to buy this thing. But you know, sometimes as an entrepreneur or in any job, you just need stupid goals. And when I finally, through cartwheeling and flipping through a lot of manual LP640s, I ended up with that car in my dream color. Because as much as I love orange, Verde Draco I think is the perfect manual LP640 color, because the top tier press car was that color. But after I got there, I was like, I need another stupid car goal to make me get up and do this every day. And this was the perfect one. And so I had driven several Veyrons over the years, and I thought that it was just, you know, it was the craziest car when I was of the most impressionable auto-loving age. And this one, I never expected I'd get a Grand Sport, and I never expected it to have quite the celebrity pass, but this one popped up for sale about 6 months ago. And it was originally the Frankfurt Motor Show car from 2011, so it was a Bugatti-owned car, and then but it was a US VIN car, so it was sold to one of the partners at Symbolic Motor Company. And then he might have gotten in some legal trouble, and it was then sold to Birdman of Cash Money Records.
Nice.
And he then gave it to Justin Bieber as a present. Justin Bieber sold it, or maybe with some Birdman help, or maybe because it got repossessed again. It got sold to Floyd Money Mayweather to preemptively celebrate beating Conor McGregor in their little boxing match. And then Lil Uzi Vert bought it.
That is a very checkered past.
Very much so. And you know, generally like celebrity provenance can be very positive in a car's ownership history. That's if it was owned by like Burt Reynolds or Steve McQueen or Nicolas Cage or something like that. This is not necessarily that, but for people my age that kind of grew up falling in love with cars, not just from like Gran Turismo and DuPont Registry, but also from MTV Cribs, I think there is a place kind of in the automotive enthusiasm for wrapper-owned supercars. And at least I'm banking on that just a little bit. But I love it. It's a 2012 Grand Sport. Of the 450 Bugatti Veyrons built, only 14 of them are US Grand Sports, meaning it has the removable top. And I almost always have the top off, but I recently was able to talk one of Lil Uzi Vert's guys into digging through the sock drawer and getting me my speed key back, which he had retained, bedazzled on a necklace or something like that. And in order to test that, I had to have the roof on to see if it would go into its top speed mode. Now, I don't have the tires for that right now because they're $40,000 and I don't have that in the budget for this year, but they are supposedly working with Michelin to make like an off-the-shelf tire that you can just you know, put on and drive. They say don't go over 200 miles an hour, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah. So you have the bedazzled key now?
They cleaned it up, so it came with no bedazzling.
It would have been cooler probably to have it on
I might have to re-bedazzle it just, you know, for the big Eddie Vert version.
I think I commented that on when you got it. I think I commented something like everybody was commenting about when he got this different names, and I think I commented something under there. I thought it was funny, but I mean that's such a unique car, especially the color, the story, and everything behind it. And so with the collection, like that's the basis of everything. That's your car collection, but as a collector, I think most people collect more than just one thing.
For sure.
And at this point, I don't know if this has become, because you do YouTube, and for me with shoes, at a point it comes to business, I don't know if this has become kind of a business or you still retain that full love of cars. Are you able to separate it?
I do, and you know, fortunately, because of the content model of VinWiki, where 90+% of it is interviews from guests. It's not just about me, my cars, fixing cars, whatever. It's really about their stories. And so I can't justify a car purely from the content opportunity that it would provide. And so I still buy the stuff that I really like, and hopefully that go in the right direction financially, because that's what makes the whole world go around. But I do still love it. Now, prior to working at the dealership, I actually had an exotic car rental company that I got with a bunch of stated income loans while I was a student at Georgia Tech. And so I started it out of my college dorm room, and that was a little bit consequential in my love of cars because I became so hyper conscious of the marginal cost to use the cars because I was charging people to do so. And so I would have to think like, man, if I drive this thing 20 miles to dinner and back, I know that it costs $5.72 per mile to drive this thing when I'm all in with all my different costs. That's more than the dinner itself. And so, you know, when the mindset shifts a little bit more to buying what you like, managing the long-term value, making sure that it's all, that is a healthier place for me to be. Otherwise, I can manage to overthink it. But, you know, collecting cars, again, was never really the goal. Having a few cars, absolutely the goal. But again, sometimes they're down for months at a time waiting on a part or something like that, and sometimes you just have to keep dreaming for whatever's next. And so it has turned into a bit of a collection. Now, I did used to collect sneakers.
Yeah, you did.
In high school more so, but I had a bunch of knee surgeries in high school because I had this degenerative bone condition where my knees died. And so I have dead people's knees. My right knee is about 5 years older than me. My left knee is about 3 years younger than me. And that meant that I couldn't play basketball anymore. So I grew up playing basketball at AAU tournaments with like Dwight Howard and Randolph Morris and Josh Smith and all these guys that are my age. LeBron's a year older than me, so we'd see him at tournaments and things like that. But there's always, 14U, 13U, stuff like that. But I loved the Jordan 11s were my favorite of all time. And so I remember I'd gotten my last kind of new pair of Jordans, which were the black and red Jordan 11 retros that they would have brought out maybe in like 01-ish. And I never wore them because I never played, I didn't play for years, and they always just kind of sat in the back of the closet. I ended up giving them to a cousin or something like that. But I loved those. I remember the original Nike Shox. I had the Vince Carter All-Star colorway and all that stuff. And so now I can't drive cars in big bulky tennis shoes because I wear a size 14 and they don't hit one pedal at a time. And so I have every color of rubber driving shoes and things like that from all the things. I've tried to get a signature rubber driving shoe, but they haven't. So Swims, watching this, like that absolute. If I get a signature shoe by driving cars in rubber driving shoes, that'll be the biggest kind of full story arc ever. I don't collect a lot more. I always kind of tell people that you can have one vice.
Yeah,
and so
true.
If you spend irrationally on cars, it's best not to spend irrationally on vacations and clothing or shoes or whatever else. Not that you can't, but it takes more disposable income to do so. I do collect a lot of whiskey though.
Whiskey, okay.
And we recently did a collaboration with a local distillery called ASW called Vin Whiskey.
We should go over there and check this out.
I keep some good stuff. That was not my own initiated thing. Here, as people show up to tell their best car stories, we go through a fair amount of liquid courage here at the Vin Wiki studio, and we've learned there's kind of a fine line, and so people bring over different things to add to the shelf. But yeah, we just did this as a collaboration with ASW. Vin Whiskey, the Shrewd Negotiator straight bourbon whiskey, and I gotta say, I love it. I just thought the name was awesome. It's 8 years old, which is older than this channel, but at the same time, most bourbon and things like that is sourced from different distilleries, and so that's exactly what we've done here. But there's always some fun stuff around. All of it gets drunk, and so it's not something that we necessarily keep for too terribly long, but some very, very good things that I've either found or people have brought by. And they're not full.
So whiskey lovers, you'll be loving that. So outside of cars, I would say in that realm, a lot of people collect a few different things. Shoes is like one of them, but we're in this high dollar value of collecting. Watches would be another one. Have you ever dabbled in the world of watches?
A little bit. I've had this Rolex Submariner for now, 20 years. My dad had read at one point that Tom Selleck had this idea that whenever his kids graduated from high school, he wanted to give them all a Rolex, and that became a very important goal of his. And so it was super duper cool. He had told me about it when I was a really, really young kid, and I'd totally forgotten, but as I graduated from high school, he gave me this. And so it's awesome. It's been around the world a bunch of times, and it squeaks a little bit, but I love that. He actually had a really old Rolex that he had worn for decades, and so I still wear that one as well. And I bought a Hublot watch, which a lot of watch people hate because it's like all styly and stuff like that. But my first the car I bought on purpose that wasn't for the rental company or just a great deal at the dealership was an orange LP640 Roadster, and I wanted a watch that matches it. And so because of the disagreement between Tonino Lamborghini and the factory, there's no real Lamborghini watches, and so there wasn't anything like that. And so I found this orange and black ceramic Hublot, and I bought it, and I wear it a lot. And it's but the idea of having like a collection of watches in the way that I kind of come in and out of cars a lot, I don't get that because of how much it meant to my dad. It's very sentimental to me, all of them, and so I feel like you connect the memories that you have in the ways that you use a watch, the places you take it, the things that you do in it. That the idea of like selling them off trading style doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not easy on anything, so they're all scratched up and whatever, and so, which to me is even
How they're
more
supposed
fun.
to be. Yeah.
Exactly. So anything else?
So there is one thing that I have noticed that I don't think anybody's ever pointed out as a collection. I think it's a collection. So living here in Georgia, Ed and I share the same tag office to the state of Georgia, and that means custom tags are a big thing here in Georgia, and for me, they're a big thing. Every car that I buy, I want to have a custom tag. I want it to be unique and stand out. Ed also does that, and so I want to kind of point out some of the license plates you have for each of your cars, because it's a creative process thing to tie it to your car and tell a story with the license plate. So let's check out what you have on here.
Absolutely, yeah. So the VinWiki license plate, which nobody had taken, fortunately, is fun. And since we started VinWiki as an app for people to kind of crowdsource vehicle history and tell the story of their car, I registered this to 2 LP640s ago, and I've put the registration stickers just to show this. You don't always start a tech company and it immediately take off and you become Mr. Mark Zuckerberg. It takes a while sometimes for it to grow into whatever it's going to become. And so, yeah, have had that one for a nice long while. And the latest tag, of course, is that they happen to put my initials for Ed Bolian all over this car. And so I needed the license plate to match. Now, unfortunately, somebody had taken this license plate. And so I used the VinWiki app to put in EB in Georgia and it showed me the VIN of the car. It was on a 2001 Ford Taurus. And it had been on there for like 15 years according to Carfax. And so when I pulled the Carfax, that'll also show you where it's been serviced. And so I called one of these shops that I recognized. I said, hey, you've been servicing this 01 Taurus. Could you tell me whose it is? Which you're not supposed to do. And he did tell me. He gave me her number. And it was a lovely woman that lived in Sandy Springs. And she had been servicing this car for a while. It had been unregistered, I think, in 2015. But I called the number that he gave me and she never answered. And so I've been calling for years. And so when I finally got the car, I'm like, I gotta find this. And so one thing I hadn't done was Google her name. And so when I did that, I think I bought the car in June, I found her obituary. She had died early this year at like 86 years old. Actually had my same birthday, but many years apart.
Interesting.
And so that gave me your daughter's number. So I found her daughter on Facebook, sent her a message, sorry for your loss, but y'all got any plans for that license plate? And she said, I think I know where it is. And so when I was road tripping this car home from Miami after buying it, I stopped by her house and picked up the plate. And so I was able to get it transferred on. And so I think that is as wonderful and poetic, and I think it fits a lot better on this than the Taurus, but still super duper cool.
That's crazy, and that's why I love talking about stuff like that, because that stuff interests me, because like this, when I initially saw it, I was like, that is a vintage Georgia tag, because you don't get the stamped license plates anymore, it's printed
now.
And that to me makes it even better for you, and now that you have this car, I feel like it was destiny, that you waited for it, now it perfectly lines up.
Absolutely.
So what about these cars? What do we got on these?
This one, I thought about misdemeanor or something like that, but nobody had Spyker. And so I was able to get just Spyker as the plate for it. Got 3 registration stickers on that, because I've had it, I guess, 3 years now. And so I loved that. I had a friend that had one for a long time, and his plate was, what is that? Because everybody sees like, what is that car?
Yep.
This one, I've driven around forever on the Japanese tag. Actually a fake version of the Japanese tag. It's so hard to get license plates, but the Japanese plate was 7,000 and it's still behind there. I probably have one of them right here. There we go.
So see, this is why I call this a collection, because this is a collection right here.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, so we made a run of fake license plates to be of like the Japanese one that we autographed and sold through the VinWiki store. Since it has pop-up headlights and it's a non-airbag early Diablo SV, I thought that was kind of fitting. But yeah, I have been able to get a variety of pretty cool tags over the years. That was on the Rolls Royce for the C Express. That was the first Car-Trek car, the 06 manual Gallardo Spider. That was in a pretty meaningful flood. We did a 2-car Car-Trek thing, so I had to get the backwards E for the second car that we were doing. I think it must have been Car-Trek 5. And that one, through all the years of doing Car Trek, I bought a car in 2019, so we were going to go to Alaska and shoot it off a cliff on the 4th of July. They have like this event that nobody knew about back then, but then they canceled it in 2020 and in 2021, and I got tired of this old S-Class that I'd bought sitting out back, and so I sold it at one point when I was doing this big garage clean out because I thought I was going to buy a Chiron development car, and Monte Remex said I couldn't. But that would have been fun. 2904 was that event for the Cannonball that we did. I have New York to LA on the CL55, and I think I have record 2 because when we won the 2904 in that S-Class, it was the fastest time in a competitive Cannonball event, which was fun. That was for a 6-wheeled Range Rover VI. One of our sponsors is Premier Financial Services, and they are the reason I'm able to own most of these cars. And so I got one that said leased to put on a Scud, I think. And nobody had YouTube here in Georgia years ago. Somebody does have.
I've left a comment on your thing because when I bought my first, I think it was when I bought my first R8, probably 5 years ago, I went in and I had 3 tags, and the first one I did was HYP3. I don't know why, but I wanted to do like something, whatever. And then YouTube was the second one. I was like, you know what? I don't want to put YouTube on there because I don't really want people to know I'm a YouTuber. And then I just left it. And then I see maybe 2 years later, Ed has on his car, and I'm like, I should have got it because now I could have kept it.
Well, that was very creative of you. Before I could get the EB plate processed, I had to get the everything set up, and so I got 3B, but I spread them out like that because we do a lot of fake license plates that we autograph and sell, and because they all obstruct the peach a little bit, I didn't have a really good peach. And so I made this one so we could have a good copy of it for when we make other fake plates. And so yeah, Missile was on the first Scud, and actually I had it as MI55 SLE, ILE, and it blew off at 190 miles an hour, and they wouldn't let me make another one without like this massive like reported stolen thing, and so I just got the properly spelled one for the second time.
Interesting. Yeah, funny enough, my childhood friend, his dad had a Scud, and he had the license plate. I think it was SCD-MSL or something.
There we go.
There's something, and he had Scud Missile on there because he would call it the same thing. So funny callback on that.
Yeah, I do. You're right. I don't think about it that much. Collect license plates. That's important here. And it's a big part of the VinWiki backdrop. You want to go see the studio?
Yeah, let's go.
When we were shooting the first batch of VinWiki car stories, I didn't really have any delusions that it was going to become like my full-time job or anything like that. And so we were shooting them in my big open echoey warehouse, and I had absolutely no thought that we would do it for long. A friend of mine that was helping us from a videography perspective just said, hey, just throw some stuff in the corner and we'll light it funky and that'll turn into a thing. And now it has kind of become the real character of the VinWiki set, so people send me license plates from all over, and that became the backdrop. I've got boxes and boxes of them in there. And so, yeah, that's kind of become the way we do it.
This is all just like random car parts and maybe from your cars, or
exactly.
Is it just random, just things that you throw on there?
A bit of both. Everything has a bit of a story. Back when I was at the dealership, we always had a bunch of broken keys, and so I just kept them all in a drawer, and then when I had some time, I made this fake keyboard of like the dream for every car, guys. There's a different car for every day for you and your wife. And so that's been up there for, I guess, since the beginning. This is the oil pan from my first Gallardo that John Tamarian blew up and abandoned. We made up. There's a bunch of blown up Mercy parts. That is a front diff, I believe, and that's a rear one. That's a torque tube that got a little wonky. Wheels that are broken. It's the hood emblem from a Aventador that maybe I crashed. I hit a deer in my first Gallardo, and it didn't kill it, so I didn't get to have its antlers. So a fan sent me some antlers with some yellow Lamborghini paint brushed on them.
Like
which
that.
is good fun. Yeah, all sorts of stuff. That's the compact computer that you have to use to connect to a McLaren F1.
That's cool.
Yeah. And yeah, just lots of license plates. And,
I like the
lots of broken parts.
The original YouTube. This is not the original, but before the now YouTube play buttons that you get. This is for 100,000. Now it's like a silver plaque. It's a little bit different. Same with the million. For your million, I think I saw that you have the gold, bigger one.
Yeah.
Now it's smaller. I just got him one. I was able to order like a second one for him, so he can have it, and it's as small as that now. And I was like,
seriously? Yeah. I just ordered a few more because some of our VinWiki storytellers and things got them, and so I don't have them yet. I ordered them this week.
Yeah.
And they're smaller now?
it's like, Nick, it's like that size, isn't it? Yeah.
It's gonna make it a little bigger, but it's not the same size as the
I think so many people have 1 million subscribers now.
I don't care. I think it's cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Part of that journey. I don't care.
Of course.
But yeah, this is a cool little set. We'll be doing some content over on the VinWiki channel here soon, telling some car stories. So definitely check out that and wait for that. But thank you for having us on and showing us your collection. And I'm curious to see how this will change in the next few years. Maybe we'll have to come back and do an update and see where you're at.
Come back anytime.
Well, thank you for having us. And
Thanks a
go
lot.
check out Ed's channel down below. Do you want to plug anything?
No, we're just having fun playing with cars, telling stories, and feeding that content machine. I'm proud to see you doing the same.
Sweet. Well, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. YouTube thinks that you'll like the video that's up on the screen, so go ahead and check that out and subscribe if you enjoy the content.